Ugh. Again, sorry for being late with this week's review. As I mentioned, I went up to San Jose over the 3-day weekend. I met up with my sister, went to a con, I had a great time. Obviously, I didn't have enough time to shave before I needed to record this video. Still, I'll probably be able to upload a bunch of cosplay pictures on my Instagram either shortly before or after this video is up. Funny thing is, I don't even remember what I cosplayed as. Well, enough about me. Let's talk about the climax to Ruru's arc. Following up on last week, Ruru had been taken back to Cryasu to get reprogrammed. This included deleting the day of her time with the Precure, and by the insistence of Listal, one of the higher-ups at the company, had it replaced with nothing but battle data. Yeah, I'm sure that won't come back to bite you in the ass, said no sci-fi writer ever. Heck, why not just roll out the Hulkbuster armor with the keys in the ignition? I just hope this company has good health insurance. Meanwhile, the Precure were arguing with Harry over their next course of action. Harry brought up a good argument against Ruru, pointing out that she was indeed an android and could have easily been manipulating them the entire time. He also pointed out that she was the first android of her particular model that he's ever seen, meaning that he's seen others, leaving the door open for some interesting possibilities in the future. Regardless, Hana got into a heated argument with him, literally butting heads at one point. This upset the infant who had to watch all of it.
Phrasing?
Anyway, thanks to that awkward little moment, Hana managed to win the argument, and they agreed they needed to save Ruru. Speaking of which, we also learned directly from Ruru what exactly her programming entailed. Her primary directive turned out to be maintaining Cryasu's ideal future. One where there were no wars, no conflict, just dead silence. People were still technically alive, so in some ways, it was an ideal world. One that a newly reprogrammed android wanted to ensure. Blaming his subordinates for his own incompetence. Sad to say, this is one of the more accurate depictions of the modern business world. As you'd expect, the Precure engaged Ruru in her. So, that armor was designed for all of Cryasu's battle androids, right? So, why does it look like Ruru? I mean, yeah, I guess Ruru might be a mass-produced model, but why would you ever want to go with that design specifically? I just don't think the braided up hair exudes that much intimidation. During the battle, Ruru looked up the data she used to combat the Precure during their first encounter. Well, I see someone has a low opinion of anyone who uses Mario in Smash Bros. Also, during the fight, Purple steps in to explain what they did to Ruru. Yeah, about that, Purple. Yeah, you'll find out in just a minute. Despite her Gunbuster-style arsenal, the fight with Ruru draws to somewhat of a stalemate, with the Precure even doing the classic holding up the heavy object scene. With few other options, Ruru searched her drives for any useful data, likely starting up some data recovery programs in the process, which of course included her supposedly deleted memories with the Precure. Now you see, this is what happens when you don't format the drives on your androids, Cryasu. I'm not even really joking here, I legitimately think that's what's going on here. Purple mentioned that all they did was essentially empty Ruru's recycling bin. The thing is, that doesn't actually delete the data, it just allows the space it originally occupied to be overwritten. Data forensics is a thing, because they can usually find ways of recovering incriminating files of suspects who thought they had deleted them. Unable to process this sudden influx of data, the Precure managed to take advantage and destroy Ruru's armor, and hey Saya, I think you almost hit your teammate there. You know, I realize this is meant to be a serious dramatic scene, but I just can't help myself sometimes. I am such a nerd. Still, the fight was far from over, with Ruru left in a confused state, while equipped with a really powerful exoskeleton. I blame you for being a bad influence. For the final confrontation, Han went at it alone, appropriately enough, in a space similar to the one from their initial encounter. The cherry blossoms here are also meant to be a strong symbol for change, like when a person transitions into a new stage of their life. The fact that they were frozen in place could be seen as a certain android's refusal to make that transition. It turns into an intense fist fight with Ruru letting out all of her emotions. Most of it being her feelings of guilt, not just for betraying Hana's trust, but also her own beliefs. She truly believed in the future Kurayasu had been working towards, but her interactions with the Precure had shown her a path towards a different, possibly better future. However, to attain such a future would mean throwing everything away, everything that had defined her up until that point. The once stoic and steadfast Ruru was not only unsure of what sort of future she wanted to walk towards, but also if she even had the right to move towards anything at this point. Hana assured her she had such a right with words that only the truest of Precure could speak. With those words, plus some more that I'm sure the Kamikita Futago were happy to hear because it gives them more material, the Precure were finally able to calm the berserk android down. Purple tried to get Ruru to listen to her one more time, but... I officially love Ruru more than ever before. Thus, the episode ends with Ruru embracing her new family with the Precure, and a certain someone left in shock over what she had seen. While this climax didn't dethrone Setsuna's for Best Six Ranger arc, I will say it was a very close second, which is never a bad thing. At some point, I probably will make a more in-depth side-by-side comparison between these two arcs in their entirety, but I will say right now that Ruru's arc didn't lose due to a lack of proper build-up. Her journey covered all of the bases it needed to without ever really feeling prolonged or unnecessary at any point, which showed during the flashback scene. I'm sure there are some people who won't completely buy into this scene due to the whole android having suppressed memories thing, as it is a bit played out and I completely understand. But personally, this is a concept I enjoy seeing being brought up in sci-fi. Where exactly do we draw the lines between humans and machines? It's an age-old question for good reasons, and this show, whose franchise at large doesn't involve sci-fi most of the time, tackles the subject with a respectable amount of tact. Heck, at least it handles the science aspect better than some actual current sci-fi. Looking at you and your science of magma. But yeah, that aside, the actual fight with Ruru was probably one of the best of the season. While this certainly wasn't another Watanabe Sakuga fest, it was still well animated. And even if it wasn't, the thing that brought it up several levels was for the same reasons as Charlotte's final fight. The pure emotion of it all. Between Ruru's distress and the Precure's unfaltering compassion to help her, there was barely a moment of rest throughout this fight, making it one of the most intense of the franchise. Throw in some strong performances by the 26-year veteran Yukari Tamura and the still relatively new Rie Hikisaka, and you've got an instant classic. Ruru's story arc may have peaked, but there's still some minor issues that need to be ironed out, and I'm excited to see where they'll go with this. For now though, I gotta sleep off this jet lag. Once I do, I'll get back to work on the Sweet Precure movie review, and then I'll tackle a certain series that some people have been able to guess what it is, but I won't confirm it just yet. I want to keep it a surprise, so please stop pestering me about it. I'm really cranky right now. And until then though, farewell for now my friends, and... you know I was kidding earlier, right?